I'm Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Today, we're going to talk about a couple things, actually. Bonnie and I were chatting beforehand how we're in the midst here, where we live, into winter would be a nice general term. Arctic polar vortex is what people are calling it these days. I just read somewhere that we're emerging in the Northern Hemisphere from the darkest 10 weeks of the year. We're just kind of coming out of that dark season. And, we were kind of chatting, how can we link that to the tarot? And we're going to do a couple of things today. We're going to talk a little bit about the tarot of Aquarius season, because this is Aquarius season. Aquarius is that time of the year that sits between, January 19th, 20-ish, and February 19th, 21st-ish. And it is a time, particularly in the north, where we live, where we get hit hard with winter. I don't know about you, Bonnie, but I'm done shoveling snow, and yet I know full well that the forecast is for 15 to 20 centimeters, which would be 6 to 8 inches for our American followers coming, 48 hours from now. So,
and cold.
Yes. Yes, and when people are thinking cold, we're going to tell you what cold is. I think the forecasted high tomorrow was minus 26. The nighttime forecast is for minus 26, and that's the air temperature. We have a wind chill that makes it colder than that. It's going to be minus 26. As a bearded guy, I always refer to that as hair freezing weather. That's where I go outside and the moisture from my breath within 20 seconds just gives me these icicles across my face. So we thought we would talk a little bit about that today. And then, if we are talking about the idea of I don't want to call them dark times, but certainly from a light perspective, they are much more darker than they are light. How can we nurture ourselves? How can we support ourselves? How can we give ourselves the rest that we need, the support, the self-care that we need? And then, Bonnie has developed a spread that we hope will help you out, and we're going to walk our way through that as well. So stay tuned for all the wonderful things that are going to happen. I'm going to kind of focus a little bit on, and I mentioned the idea of Aquarius. And I'm going to link that a little bit to self-care and something that has happened in the sky, which I think is interesting. But first thing I'm going to say, Bonnie, how you doing? We're thinking.
Hi, Peter. Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here. I'm good. I'm stuck inside a lot. The weather in particular, we live about 25 minutes or so away from each other, and it's been crazy. Driving hasn't been fun. So, I'm hibernating, I guess you could say, and trying to stay warm. I don't like going outside when it's cold, so I'm very happy indoors during this time. But I'm looking forward to our conversation today. I'm looking forward to hearing more about Aquarius season, and we're going to talk about rest, which is probably second to tarot for me, of my favorite things.
I love that. What are your favorite things? Tarot, rest.
Well, I did a webinar last night, and I think I referred to tarot as my best friend. And I was like, oh, does that make me sound really weird that I consider tarot my best friend? But, just metaphorically, of course. But.
Yeah, but we do. I think we live in a culture where we seem to think that the busier we are, the more successful we are. And I'm not sure that I don't know if that's conducive to success, or whether or not that really makes an awful lot of sense. But for some reason, rest seems to be something bad, that stopping and taking stock, or just stopping and stopping, period, is
Well, and I think too, people don't understand why rest is important, or it's like we have to deserve it in some way, right? It's like I have to do something, and then if I get that thing or achieve that thing, then I can rest, right? So it is a complicated, like we do have a very complicated relationship to rest and what people think rest actually is. So
yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear how you link that to the tarot through the spread. Because I often think rest is very important for self-care. So when I was talking about the idea of Aquarius season, again, most of our listeners who are interested in the tarot are probably interested in Aquarius, but just really quickly, we call it Aquarius season because the sun literally crossed that point in the sky that we call zero Aquarius. So it goes into the 30 degrees of the sky that are Aquarius. And from, that period I talked about, January 19th, I think this year it's the 19th to February 19th or 20th, we say that it's Aquarius season. But around that time, something really interesting happened. And if you just give me a couple of minutes, I'll try and explain it as best I can. So if the sun comes into Aquarius at 0 degrees, like in this section of the sky, right around the time it got there, the moon, Mercury, and Venus were also there. Now, that might not mean anything because Mercury and the moon and Venus have to be in some part of the sky at any particular point in time. The reason why I think that's really important and why I think it's important for the concept of self-care is that Venus, Mercury, and the moon are also the 3 planets that rule the 3 decans of Aquarius, and they are represented by 3 cards in the tarot, the 5, the 6, and the 7 of swords, cards that don't have anything to do with rest. They're cards that have to do sometimes with defeat and challenge. The 6 of swords is, often about leaving something else behind or moving from chaos into an attempt towards rest, but it's sort of a process. And then the 7 of swords, which is a card that Bonnie is very familiar with. It seems to be
haunts me. It stalks me.
Card. It can be a card of deceit. It has other meanings as well, but usually it's one of those cards as well. And people see it and go, oh, not this card. The reason I think Bonnie sometimes frowns when she refers to it as her stalker card is she wishes something else was her stalker card as opposed to the 7. But because I always think, when the sun goes by those 3 planets, the sun being sort of the planet to the luminary body of self. Like when we talk about our sun, we are often talking about the ideal self that we put forward. I imagine it as being a torch and just kind of lighting up the moon, lighting up Mercury, and lighting up Venus as they go by, and giving us an opportunity for self-care in those places of our lives. So the moon would be, our place of nurturing. It would be our place of intuition. Mercury would be, our place of communication, how we talk to other people, but it might be also that, our thoughts, how we, if we're going to talk about rest, then resting what's going on in our mind is really important. And then Venus is about our body. It's about that sensual touch. It's about luxury and beauty, things that also link with rest. So I don't want to go into a ton of detail, but I just, if you can sort of visualize that point in time, and it has happened already, or it's happening now as we're sort of recording this podcast, and the sun just going by in the sky, just lighting a little flame in the moon, and then lighting a little flame at Mercury, and then lighting a little flame at Venus. And if you're interested in, I designed a tarot spread, which I won't get into detail here, but I put it in my Cards of Aquarius webinar. So if that's something of interest to you, we've kind of finished off that webinar with that spread, with that kind of power period spread that can be used all the way through the period of Aquarius and it is a real focus on self-care, but in those sort of 3 domains of life, that moon style area of life, that Venus style area of life, and that Mercury style area of life, which would link nicely to the concept of rest. I don't know. I hope that wasn't too philosophical. I know we kind of talked, and I'm going to sort of lead this first part, and then I'm going to stay quiet, and Bonnie, you're going to take us through that whole spread. But I don't know what you think about that, if that kind of resonates with you. And sorry, I should talk about the major arcana cards, because the major arcana cards are interesting as well, right? The Aquarius card is the star. So when we talk about rest, that's a great card for optimism and for hope. I also refer to that. That's the first light, right? Think of the two cards that came before that card. That was the devil and the tower. So, we have this idea of the star is almost a card that sort of gives that, it's that, first light, first breath towards rest. And then we sort of two cards. I always work in a traditional way. So for me, the planetary ruler would be Saturn, which would link to the world. But Aquarius is an air sign. It is also, its modern link would also be to Uranus, which in a modern system would link to the Fool. So the Fool is also kind of linked to Aquarius, and it that's a time where sometimes we can take a different path towards rest and recovery, or sometimes just being a little foolish and taking a leap of faith or letting our guard down can also be things that can support us. Sorry, that was a lot of talking. I'm going to stop now because I'm really curious, what you think or what people think about that. I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. All right.
Thank you, Peter. I always love listening to what you have to say about astrology, because that is definitely not my strong suit. So, great information about that. And those three cards that link to Aquarius season, like in the minors, I think that's also really interesting. And I love how the star, like, this is so it's like such a beautiful marriage of what we're talking about today. And this really just happens synchronistically. It's not like we had this big plan, but it's all coming in so nicely. So I love how the star is linked to Aquarius, and how today we're going to also be talking about rest. And for me, the star is a card, like exactly what you said. It's about hope. The cards before that were, really difficult cards, but I also see the star as about healing. It's like this time now where we're like, like we can heal those parts of us that may have been wounded, through patterns that maybe we've broken in working with the devil, or something maybe that happened in the tower, like something that crumbled down. And now we're at this point where it's like, like we're healing. I think also too, it's a lot about vulnerability. And I think a lot of us shy away from maybe healing because it brings us to a really vulnerable state. And maybe we don't know, what we're going to uncover once we start this healing journey. So the star card, that's again, one of my favorites in the tarot, but it is really this beautiful energy of, what is it that you desire, knowing that that's possible for you. And the star doesn't necessarily have to live outside of you. Like sometimes we think about wishing upon the stars or the light of the stars, but we also have that light within us. And, how can we connect with that light? And I think rest is a really beautiful way to do that. So yeah, I'm feeling like star energy right now. I love that. And I think I pulled the star for me yesterday. So it's always a welcome addition to my readings. So, okay, I guess we'll start there. Should we dive in now, Peter?
Let's do that. Let's dive in. I thank you for adding the word vulnerability, because it's one, in my kind of quick overview, the star I forgot, but it's critical. And I always think when you see a card where the character of the card is naked, it's kind of, they remove their sort of shell of clothing. And in most iterations, or many iterations of the star card, that's how the card is displayed. It really does talk about the idea of vulnerability, but it also talks about the idea of, that development of starting to develop, being comfortable with yourself, working through that healing process. So.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And I would even, invite people, since we're going to be talking about rest today, pulling out your star card, like putting it, on your desk or your bedside table, or if you are going to engage in some of these, practices that help you to rest, have the star card with you, because I think that's just such a beautiful energy that you can embody to, maybe you're just starting this journey, and that would be a really great, something symbol to have with you as you begin that. So, okay, let's talk about rest, shall we?
Let's do that. Yes, to you.
Oh, I could talk about rest for many hours and days probably. But
I could talk about rest, but I have to go have a nap first.
I have to go have a nap. Yeah, I'm tired of talking about rest. Really, let's go there. Yeah, what what does rest mean to you? I mean, we could start there. Why is rest important? And right now, and sometimes we resist it so much, right? Especially now, we're in winter, so we're in the Northern Hemisphere. It is a time of rest. It's where everything is resting. Things are hibernating. So nothing is really growing in this season because in nature, we're meant to rest. We're not meant to go all the time, right? So if you're feeling tired, if you're not feeling motivated, if you're feeling this like, oh, I have to force myself, I have to push, that could also be just the energy that's happening right now is like, okay, maybe instead of forcing and pushing, can you pull back a little bit and see what it is that you're forcing and pushing against? The other idea too, which is really beautiful with the star, is that the body physically cannot heal when we're always in a state of stress. And in this environment that we live in, it's such a stressful culture, right? And we really wear badges of honor about how much stress we can handle and how much we can work and all the things that we can achieve. It's like, look at me, like I can work 20 hours a day and sleep for 2 hours a day and I'm still functioning and I'm still succeeding. Like, why do we do that? We put all this stuff on a pedestal, but really what's happening is we're just going to lead to burnout, or we don't have enough time to enjoy things in life if we're constantly working or constantly thinking about all of those things. So what's really important is that the body cannot heal if we're in the constant state of stress. If those hormones like cortisol and adrenaline keep running through our body, unless they're actually like that pattern is interrupted somehow, it's really impossible for us to heal. It's also impossible for us to have really great ideas or to take action on things that inspire us. So that's where rest really comes in. And rest can be many, many things. I love talking about meditation. That's how I get rest. And this isn't to say that I'm, resting 12 hours a day. Like, these are very short little instances that I have in my day, but it's really important for me to always come back to that place where I am resting and I'm not thinking about all the things I have to do. It just really brings me back to this place of peace. So that's kind of what we're talking about here when we're talking about rest. Other ways could be like restorative yoga, being out in nature, doing something that just really allows the body to be supported and held, and like you're not having to physically do things or mentally do things that seem challenging. Sometimes people think rest is like, sitting on the couch watching TV or scrolling through videos, maybe videos that make you laugh. In a sense, your body physically might be resting, but it's still somewhat stirring up some type of like you're using some mental capacity when you're watching and consuming. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do that, but again, that's not as restful as really coming to a place more of peace, if that makes any sense. So I don't know, Peter, does that make sense to you?
No, it makes perfect sense. Like I as somebody who on again, off again likes to do kind of physical training, like my trainer would always say, one of the most important things for the body to be able to heal is rest. And, at my current age, at least 48 hours. So I would never go any more than, like I wouldn't do back-to-back similar sort of workouts one day to the next because the body needs time to recover. And like I wear my ring here on this finger is a biometric measure called the Neura ring, and it measures my rest period. And it's kind of funny because in my sleep pattern, I got an annual report that said it called me a cat. And that is because I value my nap, which is another, now these are, it recognizes a nap as any sleep that happens that's more than 15 minutes. So my naps are probably anywhere from, maybe 20 minutes to 35, 40 minutes. And I find them to be exceptionally restorative. So it's just a quick way to shut the mind off. Now, again, a nap is only something I have been able to do since my work has been much more flexible. When I was working a much more regular job, I couldn't nap. That was impossible. But it's amazing how restorative just closing your eyes, and giving the body an opportunity to reset itself is important. So if you have that ability, like that afternoon nap is critical, but it's critical because the body needs it. As you said, we are not meant to be go, 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 go all the time.
Mm-hmm. And if rest isn't possible for you during the day, then see what times during the day works for you. For me, I've been doing this for 10 years. I meditate every day before I get out of bed. So my time of rest, of like coming back to this place of stillness, is in the morning before I even start my day. So it could be that. It could be at nighttime when you're going to sleep, taking, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even just listening to something that's helping you come into a state of relaxation. Right. That is also rest. So it doesn't have to be like you can tack it onto something that you're already doing. Like I said, I do mine in the morning before I get out of bed. It could be at nighttime before you go to sleep. If those are the only times during your day that you can do that, that's completely fine. When we talk about rest, it's just allowing the body or in the mind to shut off from the things that we're doing every day or those things that are constantly flooding us. So it's not necessarily about not thinking about anything, but choosing what you want to think about to give your mind a break from those habitual things that we think about on and on. So that's sort of the idea. Naps are amazing, Peter. I think that's wonderful. It's a really great way to restore. Okay. So what else did we want to talk about? The idea of feeling guilty if you're not resting. Right. Well, sometimes your body will force you to rest. So if you go, and you sort of reach the state of burnout, you're going to be forced to rest. So this is almost like you choosing, to do it every day, little by little, to maybe prevent a time where you're just like, I just physically can't do it because now my body is forcing me to rest. And we don't want to end up there.
No. Often we'll get sick. Like that. Sometimes getting sick is our body's way of saying, "Look, you're not going to shut yourself down. Fine, I'm going to shut you down."
Yeah, and do you notice too sometimes that if you're doing something, like I'm just going to say planning a party. I don't know. This is not going to lead to that, but it's like you're so busy and you've consumed so much energy doing this one thing, and as soon as it's over, you get sick. Mm-hmm. Because your body's like, I can't keep going like that. Like, you have to stop. Yeah. So
you have to stop or I'm going to stop you.
Yeah, it's kind of that idea. So I think it's really important just to notice what these, if we're feeling guilty because we actually want to rest, where is that guilt coming from? And can we just have more compassion with ourselves to be like, and it doesn't have to be hours and hours. You could even start with 5 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. And then once you start feeling that peace and you're like, oh, this feels really good. And then it might increase from there. So I have a spread that I thought we could use today to, sort of give us a little bit of information. You could do the spread at home and see what comes up for you. Peter and I will go through it today and then offer that to you. Shall we get into that, Peter?
Yes. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I'm going to shuffle. I think I'm just pulling the cards, right? And then we're going to talk about them?
Yes.
Okay.
What deck are you using?
I'm using, why do I always forget? Tarot of the Witch's Garden by Sasha Graham. Okay, so I'm going to pull 3 cards and then I'll explain what each placement is. Okay. So the placement of our first card is what fear or belief is making me resist rest. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I pulled the 2 of Cups.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, so what fear or belief is making me resist rest? Okay, I'm gonna tackle this.
All right.
This is a beautiful card. When I see the 2 of Cups, I see it as it's about like the love we have for ourselves, right? It's like, it's really beautiful to have a partnership with somebody else in any capacity. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It could it could be friendship, partnership. But I also believe that in order to have those really fulfilling relationships with other people, we also need to have that for ourselves so that we're not sort of outsourcing that power to other people. So what fear or belief is making me resist rest is like maybe like, I'm not worthy enough to receive rest. Like, I don't deserve rest. It's kind of the opposite of building that relationship. So how can you honor yourself and be like, the more rest I always see this when I'm teaching meditation, it's like building a relationship with the most important person in your life, which is you. And when we rest, we're actually doing that. We're coming back to this place of like wholeness, really connecting to that part of ourselves that's like behind the thoughts. And the more that we do that, we create this beautiful, beautiful relationship. And then that also enriches the other relationships we have in our life because we're not trying to be validated by other people. We're now expanding that energy that we're feeling for ourselves into other areas of our life. So that's what I'm going to say about the Two of Cups. What would you add to that, Peter, or what would be your perspective on that?
Well, I guess because I was thinking of the Two of Cups from the perspective, and I do love the idea of the two being a card of reflection. So it can be how do I see myself? So how do I in the cups? How do I love myself? How do I nurture myself? How do I hold compassion for myself? But I'm going to go in a different direction because I always think that's one possibility. Because the question really does talk about what fear or belief is making me resist rest, I'd also be asking the question, if I am engaged in, kind of a covenant style relationship, one that is strong and loving, is somehow my belief that that rest won't be supported by other, that, that it might be seen as laziness or disengagement or, or self-focused, or is it a pattern, an old pattern that's repeating itself from someone who would have been a Two of Cups kind of, relationship, that sort of connection covenant. I think about old patterns like, the voice of a parent or the voice of a caregiver, or, well, what do you mean taking good care? I didn't have to meditate in my day, or, I didn't need, do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I wonder as well, only because of the question that was asked around fear or belief. So I would look at it, I would explore that as a possibility as well with the Two of Cups. Would be, looking at either present or past loving connections and seeing whether or not they're the source or seed of fear or resistance for self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that perspective as well. And it all like whatever, feels good for you in terms of like receiving this information. But that is so true. It could be like, well, if I'm resting and I'm in a relationship, whatever that relationship is, then am I taking something away from that person? Or are they going to see me, you're right, as being
That's
lazy or like, what are you doing?
What are you
Like,
doing?
we should be doing this and instead you're doing that. So I love that perspective, Peter.
Yeah, just a different one, not to like, I always love, because we've talked about this before with the Two of Cups, and that idea of twos sort of being, and it is a card of reflection. And I remember one of the first times it came up in the podcast, you talk about the idea of the Two of Cups being a card of self-love. And for me, that's something that I've definitely taken on in my work and my interpretation with the card too. So,
and I mean, they all intermingle, right?
They do. And the narrative
I do believe, like it's partnership. It's sharing that with somebody else. But I also believe that sometimes it could be like we're in partnership with us too. And we forget that, it's
the most important relationship we have, right? It's the one that we have with ourselves. That's
exactly.
All the old, adages, cliches, true statements is, you can't love someone until you love yourself. Like all of those kinds of things come true. And those are very much reflected in the Two of Cups. So.
Okay. Card two.
Powerful question there. Huh?
I know there's so many things that can come up for that, right? What kind of rest or nourishment would truly serve me now? So what kind of rest or nourishment would truly serve me now? Oh, you can't make this up. The Two of Pentacles.
Oh, wow. There you go. Oh, we get 2 and 2.
You're right. We have twos.
Twos.
Balance, right? Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
of
we're
course.
talking about rest. Balance is a theme here.
Yeah.
And we pulled like the balance card. So 2 of Pentacles. Okay, what kind of rest or nourishment would truly serve me? Okay, Pentacles, this is the body, right? Like these are the material things in our life. These are like our jobs. These are our commitments. These are the things that we're doing every day to have all of these material things. So I think really is balance. I think what would really nourish you is what brings you balance, right? Like finding the type of rest that actually resonates for you. Because this is Pentacles, this could be spending time in nature. This could be like if going outside, sitting on a patch of grass, if that's available to you right now.
Shovel the snow to get the grass.
Shovel
but
the
it's under
snow.
there.
Yeah. My husband, for him, like being outside in nature is his form of rest because that really, like, he's so grounded and he loves that energy. So finding those practices that really work for you. This could also be about maybe listening to some type of meditation or guided visualization that makes you feel like you're in nature. It doesn't have to be about nature. I'm just bringing that in because it is a card. It's a Pentacles card, but really finding the balance. This doesn't have to be like, now that we're talking about rest, it's something that you have to like, that takes over everything else. No, it's about finding what it is that makes you feel rested so that you can move on your day. And it could even be when we think of the 2 of Pentacles, it's like, there's so much going on right now. Maybe what are some of those things that you're doing? You know, have a look at that and then see, maybe can I just let that, like a couple of those things go so that I can make time for rest? So really noticing what's out of balance to figure out what rest means for you and what would feel really good, and finding the time as you're juggling all of these things of where you can fit that into your day.
Yeah.
What would you say, Peter?
Yeah, I wouldn't really, like, I would say all the things you just said. You touched on the concept of 2 and balance in the Pentacles. I would add, with the Pentacles being sort of also the suit of routine, that the 2 of Pentacles is calling you to balance, to make sure that you are including the idea of rest into, or nourishment into your daily routine. So, the question is, well, what kind of rest or nourishment would serve me now? Well, it's the kind of rest or nourishment that is prioritized in the things that you are balancing. Because when we are, this person that's kind of got the 2, Pentacles sort of up and down, it's easy to let rest fall off to the side. When you talk about there are some things that we need to let go to be able to fit rest in, sometimes what happens instead is our day gets a hold of us and we don't find the time for rest or nourishment. So it could also be that the 2 of Pentacles is reminding us and calling us to make sure that we treat that as, Stephen Covey would say, as a big rock, and we put that big rock into the routine of our day. So it's important. Find out what nourishes you. Like you had said, all of the Pentacle things are being guided here. But build it into your day. Make sure that it has a priority amongst all the things that you are balancing. So,
yeah. Ooh, okay. Card number 3, this is our final card. What might begin to emerge when I choose rest without guilt? Without guilt is just a little extra added piece if you feel guilty for resting. Interesting. The 7 of Cups. What a great card in this position. This is to all my people who have a hard time making decisions.
yeah.
Right? And I think I mentioned this earlier, when we're in a constant state of stress, decision making is very, very difficult. And quite often we make decisions based out of fear or based like on stress, right? Like we're like afraid something's going to happen. So we base our decision on, trying to protect us from that or whatever is coming up. So when we give ourselves time to rest, when we create space for stillness, so much awareness comes up. We get so much clarity. We can see things very different in that space. And this can actually help us make better decisions, right? This can help us to see what's actually in front of us and gives you the agency to choose from a place of rest and not from this place of like, anxiety or stress or fear that we're quite often under during the day. So I think that's really beautiful. And I love that. This definitely helps me when I'm, in a state of meditation. I get so much clarity and so many answers to things that I'm thinking about. It just creates all of the space for awareness to come up. So I think that's really great. What would you say, Peter? What would you add to that? What's your perspective?
Just a language around the choices, particularly being the Seven of Cups, is that what starts to emerge when we choose rest, we choose nourishment, are choices, are heart-based choices. They're choices that start to become the things that we truly are looking for, as opposed to making decisions based on fear, based on guilt, based on self-protection. We're actually making them based on love or compassion or empathy, or those things that are actually sitting, at our center, that are kind of sitting in our heart. So it makes us, I guess it brings us more towards the pathway of desired outcomes. The choices that are sitting in front of us are things that we truly wanted, as opposed to things that, we actually have to do because they're there. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
The only thing that I would add. All right. Because for all the reasons you mentioned, clarity of thought, clarity of body as well. We're much more grounded when we rest too. So.
And then sometimes we can start to understand why there's choices that we're not making, right? When we're in that space, it's like, if there's something in front, maybe there's something that you want to do and that choice is there. It's like, you can either choose to do it or choose not to do it. And when you're faced with that, it's like, why are you choosing not to do it? Like, what are some of those patterns or emotions or beliefs that prevent you from actually taking action in that? And then when we're resting and we have this awareness, we can start to see those patterns and emotions. And it's like, yeah, like, why isn't that possible for me? Why am I not making that choice? And then you can choose how you want to move forward in that respect. So, it can really bring so much clarity and light to situations, and to help you see that it's, you are deserving of making choices that align with your heart, for sure. And so many times we don't do that.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, such great insight coming from, from that spread, and particularly, I think, timely, for those of us who are here in the Northern Hemisphere. But I think, we have any listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, keep in mind, you're just coming out of a very busy season as well. It is typically holiday season. I think of places like Australia, New Zealand, where school holidays are just ending now, and the busyness of life is starting to emerge. So, you are also, perhaps you can look at this, as a way to be looking at rest. The three questions, just to kind of recap, that Bonnie had created, are: what fear or belief is making me resist rest? What kind of rest or nourishment would serve me now? What might begin to emerge when I choose rest without guilt? If you're deciding you want to do this spread on your own, or taking insight from the cards that Bonnie drew, is great as well. That was awesome. I would probably do that again for myself. My trusty Rider-Waite-Smith deck is here. I might know what I'm doing later on this afternoon.
Yeah, I did the spread for myself, and it was pretty amazing what came up. And I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should share this. So like, no, I'm going to pull the cards for the collective, as opposed to me having pulled them prior to that. But yeah, it's just great. It's just great awareness. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for, building this spread. So if people did want to do some work with you in the tarot, since, you've already shown the capacity with which you can work, that wonderful spread and based work, where would they find you? What have you got going on?
Yeah, so you can find me on our website, tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. You can also go to my website, which is breathewithbonnie.com. You can see what I have to offer. I have tarot consultations. Yeah, if you want to sign up for my newsletter, you actually get a free meditation, so that can help you on your journey of rest. If that calls to you, it's about a 23-minute meditation. It's something that I do. Like I said, I do it in the morning before I get out of bed, so that's a really great time. A lot of people will tell you don't meditate in bed because your bed is for sleeping, which I get. But if that's the only way that you're going to get it into your day, I say go for it. So, yeah, you can find out all about me, what I have to offer on my website. And yeah, Peter, what do you have going on? Where can people find you?
Well, lots of stuff going on. I just got back, obviously, from a stint in the Southern Hemisphere, so I'm adjusting to change in schedule and to the bloody cold. But
Welcome.
you can link to my website through ours at tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. My website is Peter White Tarot. Big thing right now would be the Cards of Aquarius, which is the 7th or 8th iteration of my Cards of the Zodiac series. So off to my website to find out a little bit more about that. That's a series where I talk about each card that is linked to the zodiac sign. So it's a different way to approach learning the tarot as opposed to I'm going to learn the major arcana and then the minor arcana and the court cards. This gives it a bit more of an astrological lens. So it's definitely appealing to people who might be interested in both the tarot and astrology. And then there's always a practical, I'll say 1, 2, sometimes as many as 6, 7, 8 reflection questions. There's a spread. To find out more about that, pop on over to my website and register. Usually you can attend live. The live is done. But you can download for sure. We're just at the early stages of Aquarius season. So lots of food for you there. And of course, always back episodes of Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. We're at episode 69 right now. So there's all kinds of information for you to go back and listen. If you're new to us, please, by all means, have a listen to past episodes. We've had interviews with a variety of guests. We talk about different iterations of cards. We've looked at different spreads as well. And you can find that on whatever platform you listen to your favorite podcasts, which hopefully this is one of them. So there you go.
Yes, we want to thank you so much for being here with us. Peter and I love talking about the tarot and all the things that come with it. So it is our honor and our pleasure to share this information with you. If you love this, please leave a really nice review and share it with people who you think would be interested as well, because that helps spread the word and have other people be able to find us. So thank you so much for being here. If you have any comments or suggestions for new episodes, we would love to hear from that. So don't be a stranger. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Bye for now.